Hello, I'm John Sablon. You may remember me from television news. I'm now on the board of West Hartford Community Television, WHC-TV. I'm talking to you from the public library because the two organizations have a lot in common. For instance, here at the library, you can reach out and touch just about any part of the world, free of charge. On the other hand, through WHC-TV, you have access to everything in and about West Hartford, right from your own home, and once again, free of charge. Now, I have to be very honest with you. WHC-TV is a non-profit organization, and as such, we need your help to keep doing an ever-improving job of servicing you. Now, you can become a member for just $35 and help us an awful lot. You can help us all go a long way. Just think of it this way. You're investing in yourself. Thanks.
Oh, you got the heads?
No.
He's excited. Call the council meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. LeBrun.
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Ms. Cantor.
Here.
Mr. Davidoff.
Here.
Mr. Dodge.
Here.
Ms. Fay.
Here.
Ms. Kerrigan. Mr. Sweeney.
Here.
Mr. Winograd is absent. And Mr. Williams.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. LeBrun. Number 4, Ms. Kerrigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of the minutes of the Town Council meeting 9/25/2018 and the public hearing 1340 and 1344 New Britain Ave, 9/12/2018.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is the public forum section of the meeting. This is provides the citizens the opportunity to address items on the town council agenda, those items that we will act upon on tonight's meeting. To ensure that everyone has had an opportunity to be heard, the council can effectively administer its business. Certain rules are traditionally followed. You are allowed to speak for 3 minutes unless you represent a group, and you can speak for 5 minutes. And we have a sign-up sheet, and these are, you can speak not subject to a public hearing, but we have no public hearings. This is really for the benefit of the students in the back. But anyway, we will look look at our sign-up sheet? And if
We had a sign-up sheet. It was there. It's gone now. Did
Does
somebody?
anybody know where the sign-up sheet is? Otherwise, we can just have people come up, state your name and address for the record. Okay, whoever would like to speak, it's subject to something on the agenda, come up and state your name and address for the record. Barry?
All right. I promise that I'll keep it short. Barry Walters, thank you for having the Human Rights Commission with you tonight. I'm here to address the resolution for the Town of Compassion, which, as we all know, is on the agenda. The Town of Compassion actually began as the Charter of Compassion a few years back with the Human Rights Commission here in West Hartford. It was discussed, and we met with various members of the town council to discuss how it might look for our community, and it kind of evolved. Let me first just say that the Town of Compassion was a concept that began with Karen Armstrong in 2008. That concept was basically having a worldwide adoption of the Golden Rule, which we all know is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The charter, that was her initial idea. It has evolved now to a worldwide movement in which communities, entities, government entities adopt it, and it looks different for each community for which it has been created for. It reflects upon usually a topic that is sensitive to that community. Locally, we had Milford, Connecticut, who adopted it to address violence in the schools. Up the road a little ways, Brattleboro adopted it to have its city government acting according to the principles of the charter. We looked at it and felt that there was a lot there to the charter. We also felt that there was no one specific thing that we, in the end, that we wanted to address forever for the life of the charter. So we wanted to adopt something that was malleable, that reflected the community, and we worked again with Human Services Committee, the council, with Mr. Hart, and we came up with basically our own thing, Town of Compassion. And that Town of Compassion addresses everything that the charter has in it, but it does it in a much simpler way, and it does it in a way that acknowledges what we have done and what we're going to do, and it gives the Human Rights Commission itself a job going forward. And I think I speak for the commission that we're happy with the outcome of the resolution, that we all did discuss it and agree that it looked like a great document that we could live by and that the town could live by. So I wanted to thank again for having us and for considering it. And I guess that's all I have.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. Okay, number 6. Oh, and is there anybody else that would like to speak that did not sign up? Wherever the sign-up sheet may be. All right, and with that, we will go to number 6, Ms. Carrion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we put item 16 on the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, but we do have new business. Number 8, Ms. Carrion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we set for public hearing on November 13, 2018 at 7:25 in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TP&Z and DRAC, an application on behalf of Delamar West Hartford LLC seeking reapproval of an amendment to Special Development District Number 140, located at 1 Memorial Road, known as Delamar. On May 22, 2018, the Town Council approved an amendment for changes to the architecture and landscaping to permit the elimination of an architectural rooftop mechanical screen, the elimination of decorative trees, and the addition of a seasonal vestibule enclosure for the Artisan restaurant, all associated with the Delamar Hotel. The approved plans were not filed within the required timeframe, and the approval became null and void. Since no changes to the previous approval are proposed, the application requests a waiver of the required fees.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we set for public hearing on November 13, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TPZ and DRAC, an application by JDC Farmington LLC, a contract purchaser of 1027 Farmington Ave, requesting a change of the underlying zone for .3 acres at the southwest corner of the intersection of Woodrow Street and Farmington Ave from RM-3R, multifamily restricted residential, to RO, residential office, and Special Development District, SDD, designation to reuse the existing building for professional office use.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could we go back to item 8 for a second?
Yes.
The applicant has requested a waiver of the fees.
Yes.
I think you need to vote on that separately from setting the hearing. So if you wanted to do that tonight, you can. If you wanted to wait and do it at the night of the hearing, you can.
I was planning to do it the night of the hearing. And
Okay.
figured that would be 2 separate motions, if that's okay. Thank you. We will make a note of that for reminders. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Hi, Ben. Okay, number 10, Ms. Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budget to fund a transfer to the capital non-recurring expenditure fund.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Mr. Hart, would you like to fill us in?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is something we had contemplated back when we were adopting this year's budget. So our unaudited fiscal year 18 operating results, they're showing a surplus of approximately $6.1 million. So this resolution would authorize the transfer of $2.5 million of the surplus to the CNRE, Capital Non-Recurring Expenditure Fund, that we could use for various capital projects in lieu of issuing debt for those. And the balance of $3.6 million would flow to our general fund balance, which you all know we are trying to build up to 9%, and this would enable us to do that. So staff is recommending council approval of the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Can you just address the reason for the surplus? There were a couple drivers that were making that a little higher than, quite a bit higher, actually, than usual. We had some more ECS funding that came in, and there were several other.
Correct. It was primarily on the state revenue side, as the mayor just touched on, with the education cost-sharing grant being the primary state grant that the town receives. And also, again, I'd like to credit the town's management team for doing a good job with respect to managing expenditures.
And just as remembering that last year was obviously was there were unknowns we adopt before the state adopts.
Yes.
There were a lot of moving parts, and we made such assumptions. We can't run at a deficit, so we're making some assumptions, right? And I don't know if there's.
Correct. And, this is in part due to the timing of the state's budget process versus the town's. And we need to adopt a budget prior to the state typically finalizing its budget for the fiscal year. So we try to be conservative with respect to our municipal grant estimates, and that's what we did here. And the ECS grant in particular came in higher than projected, and that's a major factor behind the surplus.
And there was one more thing that I recall was the $1 million is generated, I think, by the schools. There was also $1 million. They had a surplus as well. I think that they gave to us.
And it's a combined budget, certainly. And when the school budget performs better than expected, you need to take action on that. It's rolled into to one action by the council.
Thank you. Any questions or? Mr. Barnes?
I appreciate the mayor kind of unpacking that, because I was going to ask the same thing. I'm sure when people in town hear the number, 6.1 million, that's approximately somewhere between, 2 and 3% of our overall budget, right? So it's a big number, and some people's reaction may be, well, does that mean that we're going to have, a tax break next year or something of that nature? And, we're not. We allocate the money as we're going to do here for other things. And ultimately, whether we would bond for it or raise taxes for it, we would, take those steps. But I think it's important to explain to the community, as both the mayor and you have done, why that number, is higher. I think in the 5 or 6 years I've been on the council, it's the highest that number's been. So I appreciate the background. And just one question on the ECS money. Do you recall, does anybody know what that number was? The additional that we got in, that's part of the 6.1 million?
I don't recall exactly, but I think it was in the $3 million vicinity, but I don't recall exactly.
No, I'm sorry, I don't have that at my fingertips.
Okay.
I will get that and email it out tomorrow.
Because it was not just what we had collected before, but also then what we make an estimate. So there were two numbers that are floating. So I'm guessing I think it was in like the $3.5 million about, and then the schools had about $1 million. So that largely drove
The surplus.
Yes.
Great.
Mr. David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Manager, so the 9% percent of expenditures for the fund balance is, if I recall, consistent with the policy that we were working on in finance and budget to meet the expectations of the rating agencies, to increase that to a number probably in the 11-12% category that they were expecting. So this is consistent with that policy decision that I don't think we've formally adopted at the table, but which we discussed in committee. Is that correct?
That is correct. And recall when we were adopting the budget for the current year, we talked about this in order to make this appropriation to bring the fund balance to 9%. The average for AAA communities in Connecticut is higher, closer to 13%, but West Hartford has other strengths that those communities do not. But this is a part of a long-term goal to build fund balance over a period of time as we can afford to do so.
Thank you. I thought it would just be important to get that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will also just add one more thing. When we do have surplus, we actually amortize it over time, as opposed to we do offset future tax increases, but it's an amortization of costs over time, whether it's being put into an energy stabilization fund or a bond amortization fund or various funds that then we amortize over time, so we don't have a one-time use of revenue and then spike a instability for the following year. So stabilization is very, very important, just as a note. Okay, with that, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, Ms. Kerrigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we adopt a resolution declaring the town of West Hartford to be a town of compassion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And Ms. Kerrigan, would you like to, as Chair of Human Services, would you like to address this?
Thank you. Thank you to Barry, to Judy, to Sarah, from the bottom of all of our hearts. Being a resident of West Hartford, I think we all subscribe to the treat others as you would like to be treated, the golden rule. But what you have brought forward is a resolution sort of helping us along the way. In the resolution, which I'm not going to read every line, but it talks about how the Human Rights Commission works tirelessly to foster mutual understanding and respect among people and to encourage equality of treatment of all people. Thank you for that. You probably get very little recognition. I don't think you get paid anything. You take a lot of your time just to help West Hartford be the desirable town that it is. I want to thank you, particularly we're moving towards marriage equality on November 12th. where same-sex marriages could happen. So it's really cool that this is happening now. I want to talk about the standards that you set. Whereas individuals are heard and their rights are respected without regard to their age, their ancestry, their color, their marital status, their national origin, disability, race, religious creed, sex, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, or economic status. In the resolution, you talk about West Hartford schools. And thank you, Judy, for bringing forward Dawnland to the Noah Webster to help us all understand why it's important to have things like Indigenous Peoples Day. The West Hartford Public Schools are well known for their curriculum that gives accurate and respectful information for all. I also want to thank Mayor Cantor, who came forward and said, it's great to have the commission to bring a resolution forward, but let's really get some meat on it. Let's put some meat on the bones. And so what she suggested was a recognition of other individuals, institutions that do things that should be highlighted. This is what West Hartford makes us a compassionate town. So thank you for that, and thank you for your patience and your perseverance, because this has been a long time coming, but you did it great, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kerrigan. Any other comments? Mr. Barnes?
Comment. I too would like to thank the Human Rights Commission and Sarah, Judy, and Barry for all of your work, and also for your patience, because this has been around for a while, and you've stuck with it. So I'm very happy that we're in a place today to actually be able to, discuss something on the record and have a resolution like this. So thank you for your patience. I'm going to be supporting, obviously, the resolution. Part of me wonders whether, something like this is necessary in a community where we are, I think, in a very large part, compassionate people, that we do look out for one another and, take care of the folks in our community. But I think it was very well written, and I thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. I also want to take a moment to thank the Human Rights Commission for their work on this and bringing this forward. This is an ongoing effort and something that we can't take for granted, and takes measures, I think, and a look back at what we've done and what we can do better. And that's why I think it's a helpful document and a helpful tool to keep moving us in the right direction. And for other people looking to come into our community that might not know us, that what we are doing. And one of the things that is in the resolution is a calendar to outline some of the incredible activities that go on in our town, from the Red Wagon Drive that Morley does to load up our food pantry, to the Fern Street Kitchen and how they support and provide hot breakfast for people. Witness Stone Project marking slaves that were in our community. Hurricane collections for people dislocated for Maria, blood drives by our own human services director, son Seamus. So I think all of those things make us unique and can demonstrate to not only ourselves but to others who we are. So I think it's a very helpful thing. I did actually today get a invitation to go to a conference, a U.S. conference for mayors on a Center for Inclusive and Compassionate Cities. So this is a communication and a cause and I think a poignant time that we need to reflect and make sure that we are practicing what we preach and making sure that we keep moving forward. So with that, I will support this resolution. Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also would like to extend my thanks to those members of the Human Rights Commission who worked on this resolution for a town of compassion. As one who didn't attend the Human Services Committee meetings and just was able to read the final resolution here this evening, my initial response was, we already do this here in West Hartford. We are a nationwide leader on how communities ought to behave in America. And I think that it's a very sad day in our country's history that we would even think any differently, that we would need to produce a document of this sort. I think when I look out at the generation of young people, especially those being my children and those younger, they would probably comment that America is a great country because they don't see the differences between people based on any of the criteria that are listed in the third paragraph. They basically look at people as other people. And of course, we would just treat anybody like we would want to be treated. And when I was brought up, it was a very simple explanation given by my parents. You behave and conduct yourself in a manner that you would want to be treated. And you treat others in that same way. That's how a gentleman acts. That's how a young lady acts. And that was the expectation from my parents. But in my opinion, it's sad that we really have to state in a document, a formal document, those expectations that in West Hartford are basically the norm. And it's obviously a good thing to do. It shows our values, and we can share it with the rest of the state, the rest of the nation, and the rest of the world. But it will put us on the map as a place that we all know to be a very open, welcoming community. And I know Deputy Mayor Kerrigan pointed out in the last paragraph two of the components that Mayor Cantor brought to this entire process. And I think those are worth highlighting again. An annual calendar of events for West Hartford residents that showcase how we are a community of compassion. Not that we're just speaking words, but we're doing actions. And I think that is quite the point of the exercise that the commission went through. That not only do we talk the talk, but we walk the walk. And I think that's important. And then the second portion of periodically recognizing individuals or institutions that take these steps on their own without expectation of being recognized. And I think in my time serving in public service, there are a multitude of individuals in our community who step forward on a wide variety of issues that come before us, whether it be statewide, worldwide, nationwide, or just community-wide, to just lead it. And to recognize these individuals and to say thank you, I think that's one of the greatest tributes a community such as West Hartford can bestow upon an individual or an institution. And that's something that we've done in the past, and it's exciting to see that's something we're going to do as we move forward. So thank you for your hard work. It was great to read this. I initially said, why do we need this? I understand after listening to the different people as to why this is occurring, and I will wholeheartedly support it this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We are now at reports from the town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. I'll try to keep it brief. First of all, the Council's Finance and Budget Committee was scheduled to meet this week on the 10th. Staff needs a little bit more time to prepare some of the relevant documents. I think there were also some scheduling conflicts for committee members. So we are moving that meeting until the 23rd. So we will meet prior to the regular council meeting at 6 p.m. that night. Moving on to staff reports, very pleased to welcome Ms. Gina Verano to our team here as Assistant Corporation Counsel. Today was her first day. I know Pat is going to introduce Gina or add a little bit more to my comments when we get to his report. But Gina comes to us with a wealth of experience from working for the city of Hartford, as well as her own private practice. So Gina, we're very pleased to have you on board. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Working with all of you. Really,
Our police chief, Vernon Riddick, is going to be recognized again. This Friday, October 12th, the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers will recognize Chief Riddick at its 16th anniversary awards banquet. And 4 Connecticut chiefs of police will be honored this year for making a positive impact on community policing, particularly in communities of color. The mayor and I will attend the event to acknowledge Chief Riddick and his colleagues for their important work. Absentee ballots. Applications for absentee ballots for the November 6th election are available in the town clerk's office. If you will be out of town or not available to make it to the polls on election day due to illness, disability, military service, election duties, or religious reasons, you're eligible to vote by absentee ballot. Applications may be picked up in the clerk's office, room 313 here at Town Hall, or downloaded off of the town clerk's website. For more information on registering to vote, please call the Registrar of Voters office at 860-561-7451. And for absentee ballot information, please call the Town Clerk's office at 860-561-7430. Moving on. Very pleased to announce that the town of West Hartford were one of the first municipalities in Connecticut to achieve certification as a Sustainable Connecticut community. You may have seen that press release that went out last week. The town, we've met a variety of standards in a broad range of sustainability categories, and we're being recognized at the bronze level certification. So I'd like to commend our staff team, and we had many folks involved in this effort: Catherine Deviney, Todd Dumay, Kristen Gorski, Kim Holden, Mark McGovern, Bob Palmer, John Phillips, and Helen Rubino-Turco for their good work in preparing the town's application. And we will be honored at the upcoming CCM conference later this month. Speaking about conferences, I recently attended the International City and County Managements Association 104th Annual Conference. It was held this year in Baltimore late last month. Found the conference to be both informative and timely. I attended a variety of workshops and sessions. Some of the topics included fiscal stability, blockchain technology, very timely, right, with our new project coming in here, and organizational leadership during challenging times. So I'm preparing a more detailed report on my conference activities. I will present it to the Finance and Budget Committee at its next meeting, and I'd like to thank the Town Council for your support for my professional development activities. Last but certainly not least, under the category of outside agencies. So I know the council has been following very closely the MDC sewer surcharge at close to the intersection of North Main and Lynbrook. So the MDC has been working hard on that over the past week or so. They're continuing to conduct assessments right now. They've ordered sump pump installations. They're working to replace hot water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, a whole variety of things. Roughly 20 homes were impacted in some way, about half a dozen more acutely. You know, the mayor and I we went out to visit the neighborhood. Staff was out there a number of times. I think our residents, they exhibited tremendous understanding and fortitude, but this is a very difficult situation for them because many of them lost things of considerable value to them. The bypass line will be in place for at least another week. So the problem was a section of the sewer liner failed. And the MDC needs to replace that. They don't want to replace it with the same product for that particular section. So they're bringing in another product that they are going to test this weekend, and they're looking to install it a week from today. So that will be roughly a 2-week installation period. So those are the highlights I wanted to touch on. There's upcoming events and announcements for you, Mayor, and I'm happy to take any questions that council members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Any questions for the town manager? I'll start with Mr.
Not a
Sweeney.
question, but I happened to go over to Lynbrook and talk to a few of the residents. One of them happens to be my former basketball coach, so he let me know how it was. But I just want to commend the town and Matt in particular on your efforts on this. You guys have done a great job of communicating with them. Also, while we have the opportunity, we don't get to do this too often, but commend our commissioners for the work that they're doing on the MDC. They've done a really good job of, I in particular, heard right from a commissioner reached out directly to one of the residents, and it's just been a really good demonstration of local government working the way it's supposed to. And Matt, kudos to you for doing all that and leading that effort. So thank you so much. We're happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. Certainly a team effort.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. I agree. Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you so much. All right, announcements. We'll start with the Hartford Marathon, so be careful this weekend. On October 13th, more than 7,000 runners, including Ronnie Newton, I think, right? Are you doing the half in Hartford? We'll be using West Hartford roads for the 25th annual Eversource Hartford Half Marathon. Road closures will be in effect from 8 to 10. Motorists will be allowed to drive through the closed areas. If there is a large enough break between runners, the safety of the runners is the priority, so just be alert. I'm not going to go through all of the intersections, but you can get them online. Understanding hoarding disorder, Dr. David Tolan, who is a leading expert in the field, will be presenting October 11th, 6:30 to 8 at the Town Hall Auditorium. The event is free and open to the public, and this is a real issue that affects a lot of people. So feel free to contact Karen Paquette for more information, 860-561-7573. Community of Concern presents Anxiety and Depression. Hall and Conard High School PTOs are presenting this panel discussion, what you need to notice when you are living with teenagers. Thursday, October 25th, 7 to 8:30 at Hall High School, room E131. Panelists include Steve Boyle of Dorm Room Coaching and Consulting, Jeff Ginzer, LCSW, a Family Resource and Development Center, Julia Tannenbaum, Hall High School student, Latoya Watson, LCSW of Evolve Behavioral Health, and Haley Zinrothhorn, Realize Learning. That's a great panel. Night at Playhouse on Park opens its season 10 comedy series on Saturday, October 20th at 8 p.m. Tickets are now on sale for the show, featuring co-headliners Paul Nardizzi and Steve Van Zandt. Tickets are $15. All seats are reserved. The event is BYOB. 16th Annual Jazz Bunch Rotary Club will be on Sunday, November 4th. Will benefit Gifts of Music, nonprofit organization providing musical instruments and private lessons to gifted and talented West Hartford public school students with limited financial resources. The event will be held at the Hartford Club on Prospect Street in Hartford. It includes Chris Flory and the Harry Allen Quartet, a tribute to Rotarian and former Assistant Director Governor Hap Liebman, and a Taste of France gourmet brunch by Chef Leslie Tripp. Tickets are $85 per person, $850 for a table. You can contact Jim.Killian at pioneerfinancial.com, but it's also on the Rotary website. And I think that's all I had. Was it Mr. Sweeney has a announcement?
Yeah, just a quick note. One of our very own Kingswood Oxford this week had a big announcement for one of its former alumni, Isaiah Wright, who also happens to be a student athlete at Temple University, which is a very near and dear to my heart. Was announced as one of the AAC Players of the Week this week, and I think that for West Hartford being well known for its football, we should put this on the record. I think that Isaiah has turned out to be a phenomenal football player, and makes, I think, everyone here in West Hartford proud, but me in particular, because he's at Temple University, and we don't get a lot of recognition for football either. So I just wanted to put that on the record, but thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. We'll take what we can get. Mr. David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thursday evening at the fire station on Albany Avenue, there will be the open house. Invite all the residents to bring their children to use the fire equipment, see the fire equipment, learn more about fire safety, all part of Fire Prevention Week. And once again, that's the fire station that's located on Albany Avenue.
Do you know the hours of that?
I don't.
Okay.
But I do know it's near the dinner hour to before kids have to go to bed.
5 to 7.
Oh, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody? Yeah, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you.
That's Ronnie.
That is true. So it is a busy month at the Children's Museum. There are a number of activities going on. This year they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Gengis Planetarium. So there are events every weekend. The first weekend was the moon landing. This upcoming weekend is the space shuttle, and there's a space shuttle suit up. The following weekend, Hubble highlights, and the last weekend of the month, Mankind on Mars. And finally, for Halloween on Friday, October 26th, from 5 to 8, there's going to be family activities and trick-or-treating for the kids and crafts, and a lot of fun going on at the Children's Museum on the October 26th, Friday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Anybody else? Okay. All right, reports from Corporation Counsel. Mr. Allaire.
My report is that Gina has arrived. Yay. As Mr. Hart alluded, Gina Verano comes to us from our neighbor to the east, the city of Hartford. She's been there for 11 years, prior to which she was in her own practice for, what was it, 19?
No, about 12.
About 12, okay. I didn't,
Not that old, really.
I was going to finish by saying she obviously finished law school when she was 12, and prior to that, we were at Recall.
Yeah.
Recall management, so she has had a good and helpful career. It'll help her here. You will all be very pleased with her advice and assistance, and I hope you'll look forward to reaching out and talking to Gina directly if you have any issues, because I'm not always here.
Thank you, Mr. Allaire. Anything else from you? No?
Nothing else, no need for executive session.
Okay, thank you, and welcome, Gina. We really wish you all the best. We need your help. Thank you, Mr. Allaire. I know this was took a lot of time and thought for you to hire the right person for this job, so we're really looking forward to working with you. So we have one appointment. I'd like to appoint Carl Shears to the Substance Abuse Prevention Commission for a term ending 12/31/2021. I don't think you have any, right?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, Ms. Kerrigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 18, Ms. Kerrigan.
Thank you. I move receipt of a letter of resignation from Shannon Morris on 9/10/2018, resigning from the Veterans Affairs Commission.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I just want to say thank you to Shannon for serving. His wife actually was relocated, unfortunately, recently, and he has to move, and he's been a wonderful contributor to Veterans Affairs. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. No petitions, no executive session. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Good night.